Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our City Council meeting this Monday, June 22nd, 2026 at 6 o'clock p.m. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilman Pickett?
Yes, ma'am.
Mayor Martin?
Here, ma'am.
Councilman Bana?
Yes, ma'am.
Please let the record reflect that Councilwoman Morgan and Vice Mayor Caraballo are not present.
Please stand for the invocation and the pledge.
Almighty God in heaven, we ask thy blessings upon those gathered here this evening and upon all of the citizens of Port St. Lucie. Look with favor on our leaders and give them the insights, the wisdom, and the patience to deal with the problems and tasks coming before them. Please bless their work and their deliberations. Amen.
Amen. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have one proclamation this evening, and it is for Parks and Recreation Month. Whereas Parks and Recreation programs provide people of all ages with meaningful opportunities to enjoy the outdoors, stay active, and connect with nature. And whereas these programs improve quality of life, promote health and wellness, support our economy, and help sustain our environment. And whereas Florida's climate and natural features, rivers, preserves, and green spaces offer residents and visitors year-round access to recreation. And whereas in Port St. Lucie, our award-winning parks, trails, and recreational programs are central to the city's identity and support the strategic goal of culture, nature, and fun activities. And whereas our parks preserve natural beauty, protect wildlife, and provide places for families, neighbors, and visitors to gather, play, and recharge. And whereas each July we celebrate Parks and Rec Month as a time to recognize the essential role that parks play in building a vibrant, healthy, and connected community. Now, therefore, I, Shannon Martin, Mayor of the City of Port St. Lucie, Florida, do hereby proclaim the month of July 2026 to be observed as Parks and Recreation Month.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, City Council, for this proclamation recognizing July as Parks and Recreation Month. My name is Brad Keene. I'm your Parks and Recreation Director for the City of Port St. Lucie. On behalf of our entire Parks and Recreation team, I'm honored to accept this recognition. Parks and Recreation is more than a sports league or a favorite playground. They are essential spaces that strengthen the health, happiness, and well-being of our community. Our parks give families a place to gather, children a place to play, and residents of all ages opportunities to stay active. Our programs and facilities support wellness, protect our natural resources, and create a sense of belonging that defines what it means to live in Port St. Lucie. But beyond the physical spaces, Parks and Recreation bring people together. They support community pride, inspire volunteerism, and create moments of joy and discovery. From summer camps and fitness classes to environmental stewardship and cultural events, these opportunities enrich lives every single day. This July will celebrate not only the parks themselves, but the people who use them, the people who care for them, and the people who believe in their value. Thank you for your continued support as we work to ensure that every resident has access to the benefits that Parks and Recreation provide today and for generations to come. Thank you again.
Thank you. Okay. Before we move on to public to be heard, I'd like to share our standards of decorum we follow here in council chambers as outlined in Section 7 of the council rules. Our meetings are to conduct business of the city, and we ask that all participants please uphold the principles of civility, honor, and dignity. When addressing the dais, please use proper language, direct all comments to the chair, and refrain from all personal attacks, disruptive behavior, or the use of profanity. In addition, outbursts or applause are not permitted. Each speaker will have 3 minutes, and time may not be transferred from one to another. If any rules are disregarded, we will provide a warning, and after that you may be asked to leave the chambers and if necessary, may be removed under Florida law. We value and thank each and every one for their participation and welcome your input. Is this public? Okay. So I have 2 cards that signed up to speak. I believe on public to be heard is non-agenda related items, so anything that's not on the agenda, you'll have up to 3 minutes to speak. I think this is non-agenda related. Mr. Edmund, come forward, sir. Good evening.
Good evening. How are you?
Please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Jeffrey Edmund. I'm a resident of St. Lucie County at 434 Northwest Sarasota Boulevard.
Okay.
And I've been a lifelong resident of St. Lucie County. I've attended Fort Pierce Central High School and later studied at Indian River State College. I stand before you today not only as a resident, but as someone who has experienced both the promise and hardship of our community. I am currently facing homelessness, and that experience has given me a unique perspective on challenges many people encounter when trying to build a stable and meaningful life. Despite those challenges, I have not lost faith in this community. What I have found on the streets is not simply hardship, but also kindness, encouragement from strangers, compassion from neighbors, reminders that people still care about one another, and those moments have reinforced my belief that our city possesses tremendous potential. I'm here because I believe we are entering a new era, one defined by rapid advances in technology, changing economic realities, and new challenges for local communities. I'm currently building a company called Numitech, and our team has been developing concepts involving privacy technology, educational platforms, cybersecurity, digital sovereignty, energy systems, aerospace technologies, and advanced materials. While these projects are ambitious, their purpose is simple: create opportunities, strengthen resilience, and help people navigate an increasingly complex world. I'm seeking dialogue and potential partnerships opportunities with the city so that together we can explore innovative solutions for workforce development, local economic growth, and community services. One concept we're exploring is a regional fleet and food vendor initiative designed to create jobs, support small businesses, and increase economic activity throughout the area. If implemented successfully, such programs could provide meaningful opportunities for residents while strengthening the local economy. And I believe Fort Pierce also has a lot to gain as well from such an endeavor, so I've been speaking with them as well. And I have a meeting with them coming up shortly in about a week or two, where I kind of want to go over the same topics. But we cannot solve every challenge overnight, and but we can choose courage over fear, cooperation over division, and action over complacency. Thank you for your time and your service, your commitment to our community. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, sir.
No problem.
Okay, Mr. Plakotny, I'm sorry if I butchered your name.
No, you got it.
Oh,
Good evening.
good evening.
My name is Oleg. I live at 668 Southwest Fair Avenue. Yeah, I wrote to quite a few of you guys recently about an ongoing issue I've been facing for about 3.5 years now. I've got neighbors that have barking dogs. They keep us up all night, every night, during the day. It's affecting my sleep, our sleep. My work is suffering, my health. And I've already approached them peacefully, but unfortunately I've gotten no result. So my only option that the PD and the animal control told me is I have to go through animal control to give them citations. And it's been very challenging because the way your ordinances are written. So the ordinances have stated that it has to be a minimum of 100 feet or more for the ordinance to be enforceable as a noise violation. But the way the PSL buildings are built or houses, it's a quarter of an acre. It's impossible to have 100 feet from the property line between me and my next door neighbors. So I have to basically work with another neighbor or another group of neighbors to have them confirm that the noise ordinance violations is happening. And so another challenge I'm having is that the fact that after we go through all this ordeal with getting these ordinances issued out, citations, then the fines that they've been receiving are very small. They're very small compared to the amount of effort I've been putting in to work with animal control. So I've written to you guys multiple times now, like throughout the last months. I've hit up every single department in Port St. Lucie, PSL, PD, animal control, and I've asked you to review the ordinances, you review the way your citations work, because I would just like to get this issue finally resolved, because I like the city. It's clean. It is more or less safe. It has everything I need. But the unfortunate thing, it feels very ghetto, because you hear the dogs barking and it keeps me up at night. So every day I wake up tired. I have to go to work to earn a paycheck so I can pay you guys your salaries. And it just feels unfair. It feels kind of like I'm getting betrayed, because I do everything. I obey the laws. I obey all your statutes, all your ordinances. But these people that are breaking these rules, they don't get punished. Or when they do get punished, it's so minuscule that they just go on and continue doing it. So I'm hoping that one of you will, read my email and reply back with the next steps, because right now at this point, I don't know what else to do except for maybe go to the news, maybe to the social media, and just let people know how it is, we get treated as citizens when we reach out to you guys for help. So yeah, thank you so much for your time. Hopefully I'll hear from you guys soon, one of you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Would anyone else like to address public to be heard? Come forward, please. Oh, hold on one second. Mr. Plahotny? Mr. Plahotny? Can you? If you could stay for a minute after public to be heard is over, I have a response for you. Okay, thank you. If you could just stick around for a minute, I appreciate it. Good evening.
Good evening. Matt Peldon. I live here in Port St. Lucie. I'm not giving my address. I agree with the gentleman that was just here. There's definitely some things that go on with code enforcement that are either one way or the other. It doesn't seem to be very balanced at all. And I know this meeting is about bringing better things to the community, and I agree with the parks and things for the community. I want to see the community do better. I like the community. I enjoy where I live. I love my home. My biggest problem is what I'm standing before. And, you guys are going to be talking about different things for making the city better tonight. My question of that is I've lived here for quite a while, even before you guys were here, so it's not just a you problem, but it's been a real bad you problem here lately. And the infrastructure and the things that are going on either take too long, or you promise things to the people of the city, and you want to bring in stuff for all people to come in and see the city and spend money here as if we're, an island, which that's fine, that brings jobs and things, but you also need to give back to the people of the city. There's been people that have been asking for sidewalks, okay, and infrastructure before their homes and everything else. Everybody pretty much loves their house, but they're sick of the crap in the city. They're sick of the way that you guys write your ordinances, the way that you do things. People want their privacy. They want their homes. They want to be able to come up here and speak to you people and not feel like, oh, you're beneath us. That's why we sit higher than you. Okay? We all work here. We have businesses here. We have homes here. Okay? We come here because we want to see change. We want to see change for the good. We want to see change that's going to be real, not fake, and things that's not going to be just filling your pockets. Okay? That's why I had asked about the money from Waste Pro. What's going to happen if they abolish taxes? Where that goes? Right back to you guys, back in the city pot. Okay? And there's many people that want to know about that, and you didn't clarify squat. Okay? No, I still have plenty of time. Don't worry. I'm going to make sure I get all my 3 minutes this time. That's the other thing that drives me nuts. While I'm speaking the truth, you people look at me like I got 3 heads. You talk about me being disrespectful. You don't even look at me as a person, just as a pest. That's disgusting. I'm done.
Thank you, sir. Would anyone else like to address the council? Come forward, please. Good
How you
evening.
doing? My name is Mike Deani, I live in Sword West Lakes. I got a question about cars. I believe they're not registered on PAW. It looks like a mess outside. And I actually called a couple of times code enforcement, and they said there's nothing they can do. Then I was told that they have a foreclosure on his house, but that means nothing because you can foreclose on the house, but it's still there. And if you could drive down the road, and I'm here 25 years, it's probably been like that for like 20. And when I do spoke to a code enforcement agent, because he was actually on the other side of the road too, of his house. And there's probably 15 cars and trucks and campers and you name it. And there's no way they're all registered, and he parks them so you can't see the tags. So, something needs to be done. I'm sure some people are working on it, but something really needs to be done to clean it up. It's a mess. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to address council at public to be heard? Seeing none, I'll close public to be heard. Mr. Platotny, want to let you know that code is working on a new noise ordinance. It is in the pipeline right now. I'm not sure what the update is, but I believe, Ms. Lamar Sarno, it's coming before us soon. Is that correct?
If I could have Christina Flores come up, because I believe so, but
There she
prefer
is.
to get it from the source.
I can see you all the way back there, Christina.
Hello, sorry about that. It's Christina Flores, Executive Project Manager, Neighborhood Services. Yes, that ordinance is being drafted currently by our Deputy Director. It's probably a couple months out before coming to council, but it should be very soon before the one-on-ones are scheduled with you to review that, and then it's brought before council.
Great, thank you very much. You're welcome. So we are working on it, and it'll be before us in the near future. Thank you. Any other comments from council? Before we move on?
Yes,
Okay.
thank you, Madam Mayor. So to our first speaker, I definitely would like to connect with you. I know you said that you were facing homelessness now, and I serve on the St. Lucie County Homelessness Task Force, and please reach out to me for different partnership, so I can learn more about your situation. 772-251-9140 is my cell phone. That's 772-251-9140. I'd love to connect with you. In regards, Mr. Pelton had a question regarding the what happens if property taxes are abolished and the solid waste credit. Very good question. So the property tax amendment deals with ad valorem taxes, meaning the taxes that you pay based on the value of your home. The solid waste fee is a non-ad valorem fee that's essentially charged to your tax bill. And even if property taxes were abolished, even if the amendment passed, the solid waste fee would still be charged because it is not, it's not an ad valorem fee. So essentially, we basically have a community-wide subscription for solid waste services. And the city collects that on your behalf, and we pay that to the trash company. And so if the amendment passes or if the amendment doesn't pass, the credit will still appear on your bill, and you'll still benefit from that. Thank you.
And Mr. Deani, I think I may know the house you're speaking of. I think that I have an ongoing, long-standing issue, but I will get with Ms. Lamar Sarno and Code and our legal department and get an update and then get back to you on that, sir.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, additions and deletions to the agenda and approval of the agenda. We have a request to table 11B.
Move approval of the agenda, tabling item 11B.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Approval of consent agenda. Council, we're going to remove item 7F for separate discussion. I don't know if you have anything else you'd like to remove?
Move approval with 7F for separate discussion.
A second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, 7F. 7F is approved contract number 202-60247 for the treatment of Sawgrass Lake's stormwater tract. Mr. Matiajic, do you have a statement you'd like to make before I have people come up to speak on this item?
Yes, Madam Mayor. Thank you, council members, Madam Acting City Manager, Kevin Matiajic for the record, and to staff and residents. So this is a culmination of efforts engaging with the community, with the Sawgrass community, in which the city does own adjacent property that's surrounded by the stormwater tract, which is the location of our Westport wastewater treatment facility. So the recommendation of staff before you today was done so not only relying on internal staff to address water quality concerns in the stormwater tract and how it impacts area residents. The city did go about and hire a consultant which performed water quality testing and subsequently came to a recommendation of a treatment which is before you tonight and is known as the Tri-Marine treatment. We've held multiple meetings. There was a town hall meeting conducted in March. The city has, for a series of years, have been in communications and in contact with HOA members, et cetera, regarding the stormwater tract. And ultimately, at that town hall meeting back in March, we did also share the results of that analysis and recommendation, as well as a different option by an existing vendor on a different treatment, of which we did allow for the members who attended to take a vote, which a majority of those did vote in favor of this Tri-Marine treatment. Since that time between March and now, a couple different things. We did additionally do some reference checks with this treatment where it has been conducted elsewhere, and staff received very positive feedback. And the important point that I would like to say is this recommendation is intended to really address, I think, a lot of the residents' concern about the clarity, the sedimentation buildup within the water, et cetera. And it was really why staff brings forth this recommendation, because it is intended to address that very cause, rather than treatments that may clear up the water for a period of time and then it reverts back. Last topic that I'll just touch on, the treatment that took place just about a week and a half ago on July 9th, that treatment was not Tri-Marine. It was a separate treatment, and that was done so because active water quality testing in that stormwater tract is ongoing, and based on the warmer climate, we did see an increase in algae, blue-green algae counts, and therefore staff, rather than allow an event such as an algae bloom to occur, which could pose an immediate danger to health and well-being of the community and pets, staff authorized the treatment of that stormwater tract with a similar chemical, or green clean, which was used back in August, another unfortunate event there with bacteria and algae counts there. This treatment did result, unfortunately, in the loss of some fish, and we recognize that. And but nonetheless, this recommendation before you is, again, it's a 3-year plan and is to address the main concerns raised by residents about the clarity and quality of the water.
Okay, thank you. Question?
Kevin, how long, once this contract goes through, how long before we see reduced muck, increased vegetation, and ultimately increased oxygen levels in that lake?
So, should you approve it tonight, the team is prepared to immediately start treating. Because this is a 3-year plan, upon application, there will be improvements, but it's testing of the stormwater tract will exist, treatment will be done, and the way I like to just compare it to others, the way I understand it is that additional testing of the water will happen so that they further refine future treatment. So this isn't a one treatment and done. As far as when, to speak specifically to your question about how quickly can staff see an improvement, I am going to have to, or we do have Solitude. Yep. We do have the proposed vendor here today. They could speak to that.
Well, if he's coming up, could he kind of go through the process and explain to us and the residents what's going to take place and what we should expect and what time frame?
Yes,
Because
sir.
it's very concerning to me that every time we even go near that lake, we have a fish kill. So I would like, and I'm sure the residents would also like to hear the plan.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, so, Todd Barheit from Solitude Lake Management. The first question, we have a lake down in Boca Raton that we've been treating for 15 months using the trimarine. It is now 4 to 6 inches deeper. So over time, the lake will continue to produce oxygen with the trimarine being added, and that's going to create the beneficial bacteria, and that's actually what will eat at the organic sediments on the bottom. So that's the time frame I've seen personally. For your lake, it may be a little different than that. It could be better than that.
But ultimately, we're looking at 12 to 15 months.
So we started seeing improvement within the first 6 months, but we are now literally 15 months into it. So I'm literally giving you data we just collected last month.
In 15 months, we could expect that lake to be.
It will be deeper. How much deeper it will be, it could be different.
And you're going to monitor that
Yes.
monthly?
Yes, so monthly, we're going to be taking samples. We're going to be treating the lake every 2 weeks for, I think, the first 4 to 6 months. And then then the dosage drops down once you get a certain parts per million into the system. Then it's kind of like a swimming pool. You just have to add so much to keep that rate going over the course of time. And depending on what data's collected, we will adjust that rate as needed with the trimarine.
So once this process all takes place, how often should we undergo this process?
How often should?
How many times a year, or what's the continuation so that we don't get back in the same situation that we're in now?
Oh, so the program's going to stay the same for 3 years, other than adjustments for the rates.
3 years.
Then after three,
I'm sorry about after that 3-year period.
yeah, that's what I was going to say. After the 3-year period, then there's, and I don't know if when they put I'd have to go look at the sheet if they did the 4th year cost, but it changes. It actually drops down. It's less money, less product, because now you've reached a maintenance level, and you can do less treatments, less product to keep the system going.
So after 3 years, we go from preventative,
Yeah,
until preventative stage.
Yeah, so what we're considering right now is this is lake restoration, and then yes, you would go to a maintenance or a preventative program after that.
Thank you, sir.
Councilman Bonner, do you have anything, or you're good?
Yeah, I mean, we've been working on this for a long time, and we've had town halls, we had lots of disappointments, lots of. So I mean, I would just say that communication is key. That we kind of need to keep everyone updated and abreast of what's going on. Any updates, anytime we expect something to go differently than planned. Obviously, we want to see results sooner rather than later. This isn't just a stormwater. It's also a quality of life issue, and that increases the urgency for us to see results. And so, please, I know you've been in touch with Mr. Shantz and the others in the community that have been actively engaged in this, and they've been very collaborative. Mm-hmm. And so this is a huge priority, and definitely need to stay communicative. So I'll stress that again. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, can we get a monthly update, please, on what's going on and water quality improvements? I'd appreciate that.
Yes, ma'am.
Make sure that it goes out to the council and to the residents as well.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay, we have
Nothing further. Thank you.
some people signed up to speak on this item. Mr. Hayek? Good evening, sir.
Good evening. My name is Bob Hayek. My wife and I lived at 139 Southwest Fernleaf Trail, and I bought that house in 2019 because it was the only, this lake is one of 2 lakes that you can fish in Port St. Lucie. That's it. And put a boat in. So since then, I just watched this lake deteriorate. My question tonight was what he just said, what their treatment plan was going to be, because we didn't know. My second question is, once the lake starts to come back to life, will we replant the lake, put vegetation around the lake, in the lake, to help it sustain itself so we don't have to go to a maintenance? Those kind of questions still haven't been answered. I don't know if we can get that tonight, or if you can direct me to who I can speak to.
Yeah, so after everyone speaks on this, we'll have staff come back up and address that for you,
Okay,
sir.
thank you.
Thank you. Nancy Ponter? Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Nancy Ponter. I live at 235 Southwest Fernleaf Trail. I moved into Crane Point Saltgrass Lakes approximately 2 years ago because I could canoe and kayak on the lake, and I watched that dream kind of fade away at this point. The residents have told me that once the lake or the stormwater track was blue, but since the application of a herbicide, nothing has grown since, and the quality of the water has deteriorated. Unfortunately, I've seen this with my own eyes, and not one, but 2 fish kills in such a short period of time confirm the poor quality of the water. Questions regarding why the quality is so poor remain unanswered. We have been assured that the Westport Waste Management Facility has not contributed to the problem. Research indicates that residential fertilizing is a very unlikely cause of the eutrophication of the stormwater tract. Current research discusses how the internal biogeochemical cycling of the nutrients in the sediment affect the quality of the water, specifically interrelationships between the phosphorus, nitrogen, and iron in the sediment. And we have seen the water turn like a rusty color. Their interactions are influenced by the pH, dissolved oxygen, organic matter, and temperature, just to name a few. We have seen the lake or stormwater tract go from brown to rusty brown before this last fish kill. Obviously, just treating the algae blooms doesn't resolve the problem. I would like to see the City Council approve treatment of the stormwater tract to include issues with the water and the sediment, since they are interrelated. I would like to ask, as a resident on the water, to be kept informed of the progress and issues should they arise, as Mayor, you have asked them to do. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Shantz? Good evening, sir.
Good evening. My name is Bob Chance. I live at 489 Southwest Deer Run in Sawgrass Lakes. And first of all, I want to thank you for taking the time to entertain our request for funding for this. And certainly Kevin and Nancy both were more eloquent about explaining the problem, so I'm a little bit more down to earth, I guess, if you want. But anyhow, I've lived in North Panther Trace for about 11 years now. When I first moved in, the lake was beautiful. There was plenty of vegetation. A lot of people were doing fishing out on the legal boats that are allowed on that lake, and we don't see any of that anymore. I will tell you that since the city has been working on this extremely hard since we started to address this problem, which has been now 5.5 years ago, something happened in December of 2020 that either motivated this situation or generated the problem, and nobody seems to be able to track that down. The city's had a very tough time trying to figure out what the actual problem is. As was mentioned, some of this is going to be repeat, but as was mentioned, we've had 2 major fish kills in the last 8 to 10 months. There was 8,000 tilapia die last year, and we just had a fish kill here a week or 2 ago. I don't know how many, but we lost hundreds of bass. And this is just not acceptable, and that's why we're requesting the funding to try to fix this and use the tri-marine product, because that's what's been suggested is going to solve the problem. Property values have taken a dip. I know of at least 2 personally, know of 2 homes that were going to be purchased and weren't purchased because they found out about the fish kills or they saw the condition of the lake. So it's directly affecting us right now. I do want to thank all the city officials, of which some are here. I think I saw Brett, Kevin, and I'm not sure who else is here, but everybody's done a tremendous job from the city. It just seems like we're running into a brick wall here. So I see my time's running out, but I would just request that the city council approve this funding for this treatment so we can move forward and get on the right track and maybe solve the problem within 3 years and return the beauty and the fishing to the residents of Sawgrass Lakes. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Maniagic, can you address the question with regard to vegetation in the future and what that might look like?
Yes, Madam Mayor. Great question. So, you know, our concern here and the way that's been described is the stormwater tract, the lake is sick, and through this treatment, it's going to get better. And so if there was vegetation planted today, the environment is not there that would be conducive for it to grow.
Right.
It is something that staff would like to see in future years with treatment as conditions improve, as well as there are grant opportunities in which we've already internally discussed about supporting those. But again, the focus has been to address what you've heard before tonight with residents and, you know, once and for all, again, address the water quality, the buildup, and then as we see our way out of that, talk about replantings and other similar things as far as what staff can support. And again, with those grant opportunities, I think would be a good path to go down.
Okay, great. Thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
Did you have something else? Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. So is there a motion, council?
Motion to approve item 7F.
Second.
Any final discussion on this item? Seeing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, we're going to start the treatment process, and we're going to monitor monthly. We're going to get feedback and information to our residents in Sawgrass monthly and to the council, and we'll go from there and hopefully get this finally settled. So thank you all very much. Appreciate it. Okay. We're moving on to second reading of ordinances. 8A, ordinance 26-54.
An ordinance of the City of Port St. Lucie, Florida, excuse me, abandoning a portion of a 20-foot wide rear utility and drainage easement affecting Lot 6, Block 152, Port St. Lucie, Section 4, according to the plat thereof, as recorded in Plat Book 12, page 14 of the Public Records of St. Lucie County, Florida, providing for conflict, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
Thank you, council.
Motion to approve ordinance 2654.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. 8B, ordinance 26-55.
An ordinance of the City of Port St. Lucie, Florida, abandoning a portion of a 20-foot wide rear utility and drainage easement affecting lots 34 and 35, Block 2049, Port St. Lucie, Section 21, according to the plat thereof, as recorded in Plat Book 13, page 27 of the Public Records of St. Lucie County, Florida, providing for conflict, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve ordinance 26-55.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. 8C, ordinance 26-56.
An ordinance of the City of Port St. Lucie, Florida, abandoning a portion of a 20-foot wide rear utility and drainage easement affecting Lot 11, Block 2289, Port St. Lucie, Section 33, according to the plat thereof, as recorded in Plat Book 15, pages 1A through 1V of the Public Records of St. Lucie County, Florida, providing for conflict, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
Thank you. Council, is there a motion?
Motion to approve ordinance 26-56.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. 8D, ordinance 26-57.
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Port St. Lucie, Florida, establishing McCarty's Choice Community Development District pursuant to Chapter 190 Florida statutes, naming the district, describing the external boundaries of the district, describing the functions and powers of the district, designating 5 persons to serve as the initial members of the district's Board of Supervisors, providing for notice of special assessments, providing for conditions, providing for exceptions and interlocal agreements with the city, providing a severability clause, providing for repeal of conflicting ordinances, providing for filing with the Department of State, and providing an effective date.
Thank you. This item is a public hearing. Would anyone like to address the council on this item? Seeing no one, I'll close the public hearing. Council?
Motion to approve ordinance 26-57.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, we're moving on to first reading of ordinances. I have items 10A, H, I, and Resolution 11A, all are quasi-judicial proceedings. So for anyone that is going to provide testimony on any one of those items, again, it's 10A, H, I, and 11A. Please stand so that you could be sworn in by the clerk.
Raise your right hand, and do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? I do. Thank you.
Thank you all. So 10A is ordinance 26-48.
An ordinance of the City of Port St. Lucie, Florida, providing for the 16th Amendment to the Master Planned Unit Development Regulation Book and Concept Plan for the Tradition Master Planned Unit Development located south of Crosstown Parkway, west of I-95, and north and south of Tradition Parkway, providing for conflict, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
Thank you, Council. Are there ex parte communications to disclose? I have met with the applicant and responded to residents as well.
Same.
Same.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening, Mayor,
Ms. Keene.
members of council. Bridget Keene with the Planning and Zoning Department. This item, it was tabled at the last city council meeting on May 26th. So if you like, I can go through kind of a high-level presentation, or we can just go through it all again.
Go ahead. You can go
Okay.
through.
Okay. Okay, so the applicant is Winding River Crosstown LLC. They are represented by Brad Curry with Haley Ward, and the subject property, it's located at the southwest corner of the intersection at Crosstown Parkway and Southwest Fairgreen Drive. And this is a request to amend the Tradition MPUD, and it's for 9.48 acres of property. Okay, and this is the subject property over here. This is the 9.48 acres. It actually consists of two parcels. There's a small parcel right at this corner, and then there's the larger parcel in the back. And again, the land use is NCD, and the zoning is MPUD. Okay, and surrounding this property, across the road, Fairgreen Drive, is a convenience store, a gas station, and a self-storage. And then to the south is the Heritage Oaks residential community. To the east is single-family residential community, and then to the west is the Verano South PUD1, and the direct parcels are open space tracts. Okay, so just a little bit of background. The Tradition MPUD, it's approximately 3,038 acres and is located south of the Crosstown Parkway, west of I-95, and it's north and south of Tradition Parkway. And the Tradition MPUD is the zoning district for the Tradition DRI. And it does divide the project into sub-areas, and that includes residential, mixed use, village center, and town center. And then within the MPUD, each sub-area is designated a parcel name for planning purposes, and those parcel names then identify the allowed uses. So essentially, I just want to kind of show you an example. This is the concept plan for the Tradition MPUD, and as you can see, all of these areas have their own numbers. This is parcel 10. Parcel 11A is going to be carved out of parcel 10, which is currently residential, but the intent here is to create a parcel 11A from the 9.48 acres and then designate that for retail office uses. And that's basically what I just said here. It does pertain to the 9.4 acres only, this MPUD amendment. It does consist of two parcels, and also it was previously Phase C of Heritage Oaks at Tradition, and a conceptual site plan for actually it should be Phase C there, was submitted in 2006, and that was for approximately 106 townhome units. No additional applications have ever been submitted for the property, and it does remain undeveloped. This is the map of Heritage Oaks. And this is Heritage Oaks here off of Village Parkway, and then over here is where we get to the 9.48 acres. And as you can see, it was intended originally to be townhome units. So as I mentioned, the MPUD currently designates the property for residential, and the intent is to carve the 9.48 acres out of parcel 10 and then designate it for retail and office use, and that's for future development. And I do want to point out that the non-residential uses that are permitted in the MPUD for a mixed-use area which would apply to this parcel 11A. They include office uses, medical use, banks, restaurant with drive-through, retail, a service station, a car wash, daycare and recreation facility, as well as some civic and cultural uses. So to accomplish this, the applicant, or this application amends Exhibit 5 of the MPUD document. That's the page in the MPUD that tells you what each parcel is designated for use. Exhibit 8 is the MPUD concept plan, and Exhibit 8B is the conceptual land use plan, and those are being amended to add parcel 11A and designated for retail and office uses. This is the MPUD concept plan, and as you can see up here is where they're adding parcel 11A, and then it's kind of hard to read with this, but right down here is where they would, or a little bit below, will designate what the use is, or what the allowed uses could be. Again, this is the concept plan, and that also just shows you the parcel 11A. So the application was reviewed for consistency with the tradition DRI. It was also reviewed for consistency with the city's comprehensive plan. And the tradition DRI and figure 1-6 of the city's comprehensive plan designate this property, the 10 acres for, or for the entire 10 acres as a part of a mixed-use sub-district. And per policy 1.227 of the comprehensive plan, mixed-use areas can include the commercial, office uses. They can include hospital and medical uses, restaurants, theaters, hotels, institutional uses, as well as some warehouse distribution, light industrial, and then other residential use or residential uses. And it's really intended to serve the needs of a larger area. And then each mixed-use area, it must contain a minimum of 3 or more uses as described above, and one of those uses does have to be residential, and a minimum of 30% and a maximum of 70% of the net acreage within a mixed-use area has to be residential. So this application was reviewed for consistency with that policy, and right now the area that is designated for residential, that parcel 10, it's currently 47% of residential of that larger mixed-use area, and this application will only reduce it to 44.93% residential, so it still is within the parameters of the mixed-use sub-district requirements. So this application, it went to the Planning and Zoning Board on April 7th, 2026. And at that time, staff did recommend a condition of approval, and that was to require future development of the property to install an architectural wall and enhance landscaping along the eastern and southern boundaries of the property. And those are the boundaries where it abuts Heritage Oaks, as well as the residential development that's to pretty much the east, the south. It's an odd-shaped parcel, so it's a little difficult. But the Planning and Zoning Board at that April 7th meeting voted to table the item. They did have some questions, and one of those questions was about traffic. So this item went back before the Planning and Zoning Board on May 5th, 2026. The applicant did provide a presentation, and they did address the transportation, they did support staff's recommendation for the landscape buffer walls, and they also added additional conditions of approval that they were proposing, and that was the addition of a condition to eliminate any potential access to Heritage Oaks. As I mentioned, Heritage Oaks abuts the property to the rear, and there is a roadway that connects the two. The road basically ends at within Heritage Oaks, but they are proposing to basically eliminate any potential access between those two properties via that road. And they also proposed a condition to require site lighting to be shielded and are oriented to minimize impacts to the adjacent residential development. So the Planning and Zoning Board did recommend approval, but they added conditions of approval, and those conditions are as follows. Again, future development shall require a minimum 10-foot enhanced landscape buffer strip and architectural wall and in accordance with the city's landscape code along the eastern and southern boundaries of the property. Now, they did specify that landscape buffer strips shall be located on both the inside and the outside of the architectural wall, and they are recommending that it be one tree at least 12 feet in height, and they should be provided every 20 linear feet of the landscape buffer, and the wall shall be installed on a 1-foot berm. And I do want to point out that just under city code, trees have to be planted a minimum of 30 feet apart. This would have them 20 feet apart, so it would create a denser buffer. And again, also the condition for all lighting shall be shielded and/or oriented to prevent light spillover. A photometric plan will be required with each site plan, and then the right-of-way connection to Southwest Glenbrook Drive shall be eliminated through legal documentation, and that would be approved by the city attorney's office. So now these conditions of approval, they have been incorporated into the ordinance that's before you. Now this item did go to City Council on May 26th. It was also recommended for tabling to tonight's meeting. And since that time, we have heard from the applicant, and the applicant has proposed prohibiting service stations on parcel 11A. So parcel 11A is that entire 9.48 acre property, and they would basically suggested a condition, and staff did work with them on the exact language for that condition. So what we are proposing tonight is that we would add an additional conditions, or 2 additional conditions of approval. And the first condition is we would revise the MPUD before the second reading comes back, and that would be to prohibit service stations as a permitted use for parcel 11A. And the way we would do that, we would add that prohibition of a use to the MPUD document for parcel 11A, and we would also identify that prohibited use on the concept plan. And then in addition, the ordinance for this proposed MPUD amendment will be updated before the second reading, and that would also be to add a condition prohibiting service stations on parcel 11A. And that completes my presentation. Staff's happy to answer any questions, and the applicant is here.
Any questions for staff? Go ahead.
With these additions and deletions, what happened to the traffic? What happened to the turning lanes? And
That is all in there. I'm sorry, I had one more slide, and that just gives you an idea that that's parcel 11A. I apologize. So those conditions are all within the recently approved amendment to the tradition DRI.
Okay, so we still have those.
Those are all
Okay,
there, right?
perfect,
right.
perfect.
And it'll
Thank
be
you.
between Mattamy and this property owner as to how those conditions get implemented, but it is a requirement on Mattamy as part of their DRI.
Thank you, Rudy.
Okay, sure.
You have anything, Councilor Bonner?
Not right now.
No, you good?
Okay, sure.
Okay. Applicant wish to come forward? Good evening, Mr. Curry.
Good evening. For the record, Brad Curry with Haley Ward. Tonight I'm representing the owner of a 9.48 acre property in the Tradition DRI or Tradition MPUD. Bridget did a really excellent job bringing everyone up to speed on where we are with it, with the project. It's been through a couple of hearings here, a couple at the P&Z and a couple here at City Council, and my client has agreed to a condition that would not allow service stations or gas stations on this property. And we heard there was a lot of concerns at the last meeting regarding landscaping and uses, lighting, and I think that with the condition, the additional condition of no service station on the property, I think we've addressed majority of the concerns from the residents. Bridget did an excellent job talking about the buffer, 6-foot wall on a 1-foot berm, tree every 20 feet on both sides of the wall. The site lighting and noise requirements will be met per the code. And, you know, I think that we're all a little worried about what's going to happen with property taxes these days. And so this property going to commercial will ensure that we are going to be getting property tax from this. If it were to stay residential, not quite sure what would happen. And so we believe that the commercial use on this property is the best use for the property. My client, Colin Kite, is here, and I'm here to answer any questions you guys have regarding the project. Thank you again.
Any questions?
Thank you.
Okay. Do you have residents who have signed up to speak? Ms. Cooper? And I also want to say that we did receive the letter from the Heritage Oaks Homeowners Association. I want to thank the association for your letter. Also want to thank you also for clarifying the question the council had with regard to that access point. That was very, very helpful, so thank you.
Thank
Go
you.
ahead.
Thank you for giving us the opportunity. I'm Cassie Cooper. I live in Heritage Oaks on Glenbrook Drive. And I want to read the letter that we sent to each of you so that you know. We did conduct a survey throughout the neighborhood. We gave everyone the opportunity to give input, and then from that survey, that's where this information is coming. On the behalf of the 523 homeowners of Heritage Oaks at Tradition and the many residents, tenants, families, and property owners who call our community home, we appreciate the city's willingness to seek public input regarding the proposed redesignation of the approximately 9.48 acre parcel located adjacent to our community. As one of the largest residential neighborhoods directly impacted by the future development of this property, Heritage Oaks represents a diverse cross-section of the city of Port St. Lucie. Our 523 home community includes single adults, young families, established families, retirees, tenants, investors, and long-term homeowners. While opportunities regarding the redesignation itself vary, there is board consensus that any future development should be compatible with the surrounding residential neighborhood and designated in a manner that protects property values, quality of life, public safety, and the established character of this area. Heritage Oaks recognizes that responsible growth is essential to the continued success of Port St. Lucie and Tradition. Our residents support thoughtful development that expands the local tax base, creates employment opportunities, and provides services that benefit the border community. Our concerns are not with the development itself, but rather with ensuring that the future land use is appropriately planned and designed to minimize adverse impacts on the existing residents. According to Heritage Oaks, respectfully request that any future approval include the following conditions: a substantial landscaped berm with a minimum 8-foot decorative wall constructed on top, designated to effectively reduce noise, headlights, light pollution, and visual impacts from future development. In the interest of continuity and compatibility with the surrounding area, the wall and the buffering system, along with Heritage Oaks boundaries, should be similar in character, quality, and appearance to the buffering found along Crosstown Parkway adjacent to Vitalia and along Fairgreen Road bordering the shops at Verano. The buffering should include substantial landscaping, canopy trees, understory plantings, and evergreen screening designated to provide year-round separation. There is some more of this letter to read, but I will let someone else continue with that. If that's okay with you all?
Sure.
Okay.
Ms. Buckholz? Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Linda Buckholz. I also am a long-term resident of Heritage Oaks for 20 years now, and I live on Glenbrook Drive. Part of what we also want to talk about is lighting standards that direct light away from adjacent homes and prevent light spillover in Heritage Oaks. Restrictions on loud commercial uses, outdoor amplified sound, outdoor activities, could also negatively impact nearby residents. A clear physical separation between Heritage Oaks and the parcel, whether the property ultimately develops into commercial or residential. Residents strongly prefer that there are no direct vehicular connections, cut off through access, shared parking, no unrestricted pedestrian connections, or access points between Heritage Oaks and the development. The community also does not support access to Heritage Oaks amenities from the parcel. Any approved plan should maintain a clear distinction between the existing neighborhood and the future development while protecting the privacy, security, and quiet enjoyment of the residents. Resident feedbacks also indicate a preference of low-intensity neighborhood serving uses such as professional offices, medical and healthcare offices, small-scale retail shops, quality sit-down dining establishments without drive-through service. Conversely, residents expressed significant concern regarding safety, security, and high traffic impacts, such as gas stations, convenience stores, car washes, hotels, drive-through restaurants, warehouses, and industrial use, and finally, substance abuse or mental health rehabilitation centers. Heritage Oaks is not opposed to future development with the adjacent residential uses, protocols, existing homeowners, and contributes positively to the long-term vision of tradition and the city of Port St. Lucie. Can I continue?
You can continue.
Okay. Through appropriate buffering, compatible land uses, and thoughtful site design, we believe that these objectives can be achieved in a manner that benefits both current and future residents. Heritage Oaks is a 523-home community representing a diverse population. I don't know if this was read or not. I'm sorry. A population of residents, property owners from every stage of life. Collectively, our residents contribute significantly to the local tax base, support local businesses, utilize city services, and have vested interest in the long-term success of tradition and the city of Port St. Lucie. As elected representatives of this community, the Board of Directors has an obligation to advocate the land use decision that balance responsible growth with protection of existing neighborhoods. Heritage Oaks respectfully submits that compatibility with surrounding residential neighborhoods should be a primary consideration in evaluating future land use and use approvals for this parcel. Throughout planning today will help ensure the future enhances both the subject property and established community that surround it. We appreciate the city's willingness to seek resident input and respectfully request that these considerations be incorporated into any future approvals for this property. We also respectfully request continued opportunities for Heritage Oaks residents to participate in the planning process as projects evolve. Thank you for your time, leadership, and consideration. And my name, again, Linda Buckholz from Heritage Oaks, and I'm part of the Board of Directors, and we speak on the behalf of 523 homes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Gaddison? Good evening, sir.
Thank you. Yes, I hadn't planned on speaking tonight, but I will take the opportunity. My name is Robert Gaddison. I live at 10700 Southwest Southgate Court. Right there, if you look on the map, there's a little house on the right there at the end of that driveway. That's my home. Okay. So I look directly across from there. I'm a retired federal law enforcement executive, and I moved here from North Carolina in my retirement. My biggest concern, and we're having that problem right now, is they're developing that land there and clearing it out with people cutting through already right into our neighborhood. They go right by my street, right by my house, almost daily on bikes and stuff. I'm concerned about the security on that end. So I want to ensure that when this property is developed over there, that part of the land is secured, that there's going to be no access, directly to our property. It's a gated community, supposedly, right? So we want to make sure that this land is secure. And particularly in my interest is because I'm right there on the end, right there. So they're coming right by my house. And I think if we have kids coming through now with motorbikes and stuff of that nature coming through there, who's to say that the criminals are not going to come through there as well and take access? So we want to make sure that that part is secure. I think with everything else that's been said in the approval by the planning board, I think if that goes into fruition, I think we'll be all right. But the security of our homes in this community is what's most important, that we maintain that gated community and the security within that Heritage Oak. So thank you very much for your time, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Executive Board. I appreciate the time.
Thank you, sir, and thank you for your service.
Yes.
Ms. Pinto? Good evening.
Hi, good evening. I'm Sarah Pinto. I'm at 10520 Southwest Southgate Court in Heritage Oaks. I'm just kind of going from my notes. You guys have gotten letters and pictures and all of that from me in the past, so I'm just going to wing it for a moment. One of the things, as I've been considering this whole endeavor, and Port St. Lucie in general, I haven't lived here a long, long time. I moved from the Boston area down to here for that Florida life. And one of the things that I noticed that about Port St. Lucie, and maybe it's a tip for going forward, I don't know, you can tell me, but the thing that we have an opportunity as this community grows to use a more curating style of acquiring commercial properties, as opposed to there's a piece of land, let's just shove what we can because it's going to be a commercial base. I think we need, and we've gotten bitten in the past, just from what I've been learning from sitting here, of not paying attention to the things like the quality of life for the residents around certain areas with commercial, in terms of the traffic, the light, the sound, the hours of operation. I know that that was one of the things that was supposed to be going to legal to find out if any of that could be addressed in terms of, limiting hours and whatnot, drive-through. Because the traffic slide that I had seen in the past, it was very, I keep using the word deceptive because it wasn't based on real numbers. It's based on kind of like pie in the sky, this is how it should be. But that was only if it was not considered to be a high traffic situation. But the numbers were for a low traffic situation. So that still has rubbed me the wrong way every time. The other thing is, if this is determined to go commercial, in the time that this is being built across and cleared, I believe that it should be only appropriate to have at least a temporary wall or fencing for that in the meantime, as that's growing. We're already having an issue with little critters because we have a couple of land trails that come over. So I'm sure as the land clears, we're going to see more of them. We don't owe this applicant anything to turn it commercial. It's residential right now as we sit here today. So if we're going to change it over, let's really think of it in a curative way so that we can make sure we do this the right way the first time, and it can be an example going forward if we can, limit or restrict certain uses for certain areas that are within a certain distance of established residential areas. Thanks.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Vasquez? Angela Vasquez? No? Mr. Mucciolo? Sorry if I butchered that again. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Board. My name is Joseph Mucciolo. I live in Heritage Oaks, and I have been sworn in. I live within 750 feet of the property and oppose rezoning request P26026, Tradition MPUD Amendment Number 16, which would change the site from residential to zoning. Obviously, the owner has given up using the land for a gas station. And what I want to ensure is that if he happens to sell it to somebody, that the restriction of not having a gas station will still be in place. Mm-hmm. Okay. Commercial development should not be allowed near homes without clear building plans. Rezoning would require these details for proper evaluation. A general concern regarding clarity development when the notice lists possible land uses including retail, office, civic, and institutional uses. I am concerned that institutional uses would include 24-hour inpatient drug or rehabilitation care, which raises the same concern excuse me, which raises the same concern I have about the medical term. Can anyone assure me that my home will not be within 750 feet, which is 2.3 blocks, of the medical or institutional facility? In the context, civic generally refers to public accessible spaces, community serving facilities, or buildings intended for public use. Can you clarify what civic use is being proposed and guarantee that it will be built or provided? When I purchased my home, the property was zoned residential, and it has remained residential for more than 20 years. The long-standing designation created responsible expectations that the land would stay residential, preserving green spaces and the wildlife habitation our community depends on. Residential use offers far better protection for wildlife, tree canopy, and natural flood mitigation. Converting it to commercial use would disregard residents and fundamentally alter the character of the community. Please verify any Heritage Oaks ownership or shared interest and the applicable setbacks. I strongly urge you to keep this property zoned residential. Thank you. Good evening.
Thank you, sir. Mrs. Mucciello? Come forward, please. Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening. My name is Margaret Mucciello. I live in Heritage Oaks. I have been sworn in. I live 750 feet of the property and oppose rezoning request P26026 Tradition NPUD Amendment Number 16, which would change the zoning from residential to commercial. I'm going to pass on the gas station notes that you see in front of you, as it already has been discussed, and there will not be a gas station as I understand it. Transparency, a word we hear a lot. By definition, transparency involves openness, honesty, and straightforward communication. At the May 25th hearing, I questioned how commercial development could be approved so close to residential. I was told those details are not required at this stage. But that raises an important question. Why not? I ask again, how can this be approved so close to homes without clear building plans or verified wetland impacts? The zoning notice change was sent to homeowners 750 feet of the property, applying for commercial zoning. 750 feet in Port St. Lucie, Florida, equals 2.3 blocks. That's all it is. The process is moving forward without key information available to residents. Where is the transparency? Before commercial development can be approved so close to homes, residents deserve clear building plans, confirmed wetland impacts, and clarification of broad uses such as retail, office, civic, institutional, and medical. These categories could include anything from outpatient care to 24-hour residential treatment, drug rehabilitation, and specialized facilities. While such facilities may be needed, they should not be placed only 750 feet, about 2.3 blocks, from people's homes. One day, perhaps yours. When I first looked into my backyard, I knew I was home. Now I have no idea when I might be living across from. This property has been zoned residential for 20 years, and homeowners bought nearby homes with that understanding. Changing to commercial use just 750 feet, again, about 2.3 blocks from homes, disregards residents who chose this community. For these reasons, I urge you to keep this property zone residential. This was my first experience with public hearings, and although the process was challenging, I appreciate the welcoming environment that allowed me to share my views, concerns, and hopes. Today, it's my block. Tomorrow, it's yours. What affects one neighborhood today could affect another tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. All right. Would anyone else like to speak on this item in the public hearing? Seeing no one, I'm going to close the public hearing. Before we go a little bit further, Mr. City Attorney, with regard to institutional use and rehabilitation centers, can you please brief us as to the federal law that we have to follow with regard to that, please?
We just have to be mindful of federal law that's in place prohibiting discrimination against certain uses versus others.
I think you need to speak up because I don't think anyone can hear.
With regard to institutional uses that have rehab facilities and the like, there are certain protected characteristics of those developments that we have to be mindful of. So we're kind of.
Okay. We can't hear you.
So there's federal law in place. Got me better? I'm sorry. I've been accused of speaking low. So there is federal law in place that prohibits or limits the city's ability to pick and choose what type of institutional developments go in, especially with regard to rehab and mental illness treatment and things like that.
The reason why is because they are, anything with regard to drug or rehab, let's just be straightforward with the public, please. They are considered to be, anything considered to be discriminatory under the Fair Housing Act and the Discrimination Act, we have to be very, very careful of. So we are very limited in scope as to what we can do because we have to make sure that we are not in violation of federal law. I just want to make sure that everyone is understanding of that and it is very clear. So when those institutional uses get mentioned. Ms. Keene.
Good evening, Mayor. I just wanted to clarify. So since those institutional or civic uses are allowed within a mixed-use area, but since they are proposing to, or the proposal is for this to be designated office and retail, it would be commercial uses, professional office uses, including medical, but it wouldn't be other institutional uses. And again, it would have the prohibition of a service stations clearly stated in the MPUD.
And that language is to come forward before second reading, correct? And the language in the ordinance is to come
As well,
forward
they will
before
come
second
before
reading.
you, we'll have them, and if you'd like, I can get up at the meeting and just clarify that they've been added.
Oh, absolutely, and I want to make sure that legal is good with that language, and I want to make sure that we all have it in advance, so we know what that language is going to be.
Sure, we will get that to you. Thank you.
I really wanted to make sure, really wanted to have it for first reading, but I understand that
apologize.
that's still in
misunderstood.
process. And if it is not applicable, or it is not as well as the city wants it to be, and the language isn't clear, then I will not be supporting that.
Sure,
And
understood.
I've stated that very clearly from the beginning of this process.
Understood.
Comments, council, before we move forward? Does anyone have any comments?
Well, I was just gonna say, I'm looking forward to seeing the language as it's developed. My concern was with the ingress egress on the gas station, and so that would be the only reason that I would support this moving forward, is if we had an acceptable condition.
Okay. Go ahead, Councilman Pickett.
Yeah, I think the applicant did a outstanding job addressing all the residents' concerns from the HOA. The letter that we received from the HOA, I think the applicant did a great job to address all the concerns. And I live fairly close to that neighborhood, so I'm kind of vested in what goes there. I stated that last meeting, and I am opposed to a gas station going there, and I'm glad to see that the applicant is going to have that language put into the ordinance. So if there's nothing else, Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve ordinance 26-48 with the special conditions.
All the conditions?
All the conditions stated.
I would second that.
All right, so under discussion, I would like to ask for an additional condition. It was stated about the land being secured, the Heritage Oaks being secured with fencing to make sure that there's no access to the residential neighborhood, especially as the project moves forward. So will the applicant agree to that? Because if not, then I'm not going to be able to approve it.
I'm not sure I understand the question. As part of the requirements of the City of Port St. Lucie, before you can get a building permit to go vertical, you have to have your wall installed. So the wall will be installed prior to any vertical construction, and I think that was what was brought up. I don't know if you're talking about installing fence on other people's property or what you're talking about, but we do have to install the wall before we can do any kind of vertical permit. So that'll be in place before we go vertical.
Okay, so I just want to make sure the wall's going to be in first, but if there's any other areas where that could be during that time that can be accessed, that you'll put up a fence, chain link fence, something to make sure that their community is secure.
Yes, ma'am, we can secure our site for sure.
Okay.
Mayor, if I remember correctly, that wall ran the whole length of that property. Is that not correct? And it also turns and comes up the canal.
Correct.
I just
The
want-
retention canal.
I just
So-
want to make sure.
Yeah, it's going to run the entire length of the property and come up that canal.
Yep,
toward
it's really
Fairgreen.
like on the parcel, it's underneath where it says parcel 11, it's that entire southwestern property line, and then it goes back up on the right-hand side of the parcel, which would be the east parcel, all the way back up to Fairgreen. So it goes all the way down the western side of the parcel and then back up on the eastern side as
Yeah,
well.
so all those homes that abut those
Yes,
two
sir.
canals right there they'll have a barrier
The wall will
between.
be put up prior to any vertical construction. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, just want to make sure. All right, with that, then this is first reading, so we'll get the information with regard to the service station that has to come back before us before second reading. So we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 10B, ordinance 26-53.
An ordinance of the City of Port St. Lucie, Florida, amending the comprehensive plan of the City of Port St. Lucie to provide a large-scale amendment to the future land use map at the request of Founders Crossing LLC as follows. Change the future land use designation for property located south of Midway Road and west of McCarty Road from approximately 30 acres of low-density residential to approximately 18 acres of commercial general and approximately 12 acres of residential office institutional. Number 2, change the future land use for approximately 18 acres of property located south of Midway Road and east of McCarty Road from commercial general to low-density residential. And number 3, to change the future land use for approximately 12 acres of land located south of Midway Road and east of McCarty Road from residential office institutional to low-density residential. Amending conditions of approval set forth in Section 1B of Ordinance 03-169, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
Thank you.
Good evening,
Ms.
Mayor.
Keene.
Bridget Keene again, Mayor and Council. And this application, it's a transmittal hearing for a large-scale comprehensive plan amendment, and it's for the Founders Crossing property that is located in the city's northwest annexation area. Okay, the owner is Founders Crossing LLC. They are represented by Lucido and Associates, and Mr. Garrett is here to provide a presentation of his own and answer any questions. So in this case, the subject property, it's generally located on the south side of Midway Road. It's approximately 2.5 miles west of I-95, and it is on the east and west sides of McCarty Road. And this application will pertain to 60 acres of property that is within the larger 386-acre Founders Crossing property. This is the location. So the request will amend the land use. It's for approximately 60 acres of land that is within the Founders Crossing PUD. And the intent here is to do this land use amendment to provide for a proposed Fourth Amendment to the Founders Crossing PUD. So basically, the purpose of this amendment is to shift the location of 18 acres of commercial land that is located at the southeast corner of Midway Road and McCarty Road, and it's going to shift it to the southwest side of Midway Road and McCarty Road, and then it's to relocate approximately 12 acres of ROI land that is located approximately 1/2 mile south of Midway Road. It's on the east side of McCarty Road, and that is being shifted to the west side of McCarty Road, and that'll be directly below the 18 acres of CG, general commercial land use. So as I mentioned, the way they have to go about this, to do this, is they have to amend the land use for approximately 30 acres of land located on the west side of McCarty Road from RL low density residential to 18 acres of CG and then 12 acres of ROI, and then they have to take the land use, the 30 acres that's on the east side of McCarty, and change that from 18 acres of CG and 12 acres of ROI, and that will change to the RL, low-density residential land use. So this is the map that kind of shows you, this is where the CG is now, 18 acres, the ROI is down here. The proposal basically just shifts the CG up here, the ROI over here, and then these areas are revert to low-density residential. And the intent is to have all of their low-density residential, their first couple of phases, to be on the east side of McCarty Road. And Founder's Crossing is north of the extension of Newell Road to the west to McCarty Road. So as I mentioned, the PUD is approximately 386 acres in size, and this property, it was annexed into the city in 2004. It is subject to an annexation agreement that provides for 875 residential dwelling units, as well as commercial, office, and institutional entitlements, and the infrastructure improvements required to serve the property. Now, after the annexation came in, a large-scale comprehensive plan amendment was approved in 2004, and that basically changed the property from St. Lucie County agricultural to 342.6 acres of RL, low-density residential, 18 acres of CG, 12 acres of ROI, and 13.4 acres of OSC, open space conservation, and that was under Ordinance 03-169. And an application for a PUD rezoning was approved in 2004, and that PUD has been amended 3 times. So now when that future land use amendment was approved under Ordinance 03-169, it did contain certain conditions of approval for the development of the property, as well as required roadway improvements, and which were intended to support the development of the property and the PUD rezoning. So it did require construction of McCarty Road from Midway Road down to Newell Road, as well as pedestrian access and a proposed school site. And the associated annexation agreement, some of these conditions were mirrored in both the land use amendment and the annexation agreement, and that did require the developer to participate in the funding of improvements to Midway Road from I-95 west to McCarty Road, and then as well as improvements to McCarty Road. So, and as I mentioned, in association with this application, there is an amendment to the Founder's Crossing PUD. It would be the 4th amendment, and basically that PUD amendment revises the development plan for the property. It revises the property's access or proposed access, and it does revise some of those roadway commitments as well as other changes. And then there's a 3rd application, and that's an application to amend the annexation agreement, and then that's aligned to and the purpose of the amendment to the annexation agreement is to align with the changes to the PUD as well as the changes to the land use amendment for roadway improvements. So this was reviewed for policy 1171 of the future land use element, and that states that the city shall review future land use maps amendments based on the amount of land required to accommodate anticipated growth, the character of undeveloped land, the availability of utilities, as well as job creation, capital investment, and then also to satisfy a deficiency of mix of uses in the future land use map. So, I mean, essentially this application, it's maintaining the existing 342.6 acres of RL, low-density residential, and then as well as the 18 acres of general commercial and the 12 acres of ROI land uses, as well as the 13.4 acres of open space conservation. It's really just relocating the CG and the ROI from the east side of McCarty to the west, and no changes are proposed to the 13.4 acres of open space conservation. And that is for 12-mile creek that runs through the property on the west side, or a tributary of it runs through. So now for adequate public facilities, both the existing and the proposed amendment to the annexation agreement, they maintain the requirements for the property owner to install or cause to be installed at their sole cost and expense the on-site water and wastewater transmission facilities that are needed to serve the property, and then as well as addresses some off-site improvements. Now, in 2008, there are some changes to the roadway requirements. In 2008, the developer did enter into a contribution agreement with St. Lucie County that included a monetary contribution for Midway Road improvements, and then that did include requirements for construction of McCarty Road from Midway Road to Newell Road as a 2-lane roadway. So for the Planning and Zoning Board hearing, the staff did recommend updated conditions of approval pertaining to roadway requirements, and those conditions of approval that is concluded in your submittal packet, then they have been incorporated into the ordinance that is before you tonight. And since the Planning and Zoning meeting staff, we have refined and updated Exhibit C, and that is due to additional negotiations with the applicant and to better align it with the proposed changes to the annexation agreement. And essentially, the staff recommended conditions recognize the developer's obligations with regard to the county, but they also include additional city requirements for utility easements. They update the timing of those improvements, the requirements for the conveyance, construction, and completion of Newell Road from McCarty Road to Wilder Road, as well as requirements for the construction of McCarty Road from Midway Road to Newell Road. The properties that are the subject of this application, the addition of taking the 18 acres of commercial from the east of McCarty to the west side of McCarty, they are within a flood zone AE, and that is designated by FEMA as a high-risk flood zone category, and the applicant has applied to FEMA. The documentation is in your submittal packet, and that's for a map revision that would allow for the developer to fill the property to where the finished floor elevation of any structure would be raised above the base flood elevation. Public schools, now there is an existing agreement between Founders Crossing, or actually the original comprehensive plan did require Founders Crossing to provide the conveyance of a school site, and then per an agreement with the St. Lucie County School Board, the condition was added to the second amendment to the annexation agreement for the adjacent West Creek PUD, and at that time, West Creek and Founders were under the same ownership. So the requirement for a school at Founders was shifted over to the West Creek PUD, but to the date, that conveyance has not occurred, and I believe the applicant has been in touch with the school district, and they probably can address this when they come up to speak. And the Planning and Zoning Board did recommend approval with the roadway conditions contained in Exhibit C at the June 2nd, 2026 Planning and Zoning Board meeting. And as I mentioned, all of those conditions have been incorporated into the ordinance, or it's Ordinance 26-53. And in addition, the proposed Ordinance 26-53 also amends and reinstates the conditions that were contained within the original future land use ordinance, which was 03-169. And I just want to point out that this is a transmittal hearing. When it comes back to the state and it's up for adoption, at that meeting, staff will also have the amended annexation agreement before you. And the Planning and Zoning Department does recommend approval of the amendment for transmittal to the Florida Department of Commerce, and with the conditions that are included in the ordinance, and happy to answer any questions.
All right, so all that
For
to
just
say,
move.
there's no change, I'm going to whittle this down
Yes.
real easy, I hope.
Yes.
There's no change in entitlements, just swapping locations of uses and adding or revising conditions listed on Exhibit C,
Right.
which includes easements and roadway improvements.
Additional roadway improvements.
Right,
Right.
additional
But-
roadway improvements.
But as to get there, we had to kind of
I know.
change
So
the
I
annexation
just-
agreement, all of that.
I could just imagine sitting, the general public saying, I don't even know what was
We were
being
just
said
talking
just
about.
now. So I just want to make sure
No,
that we
sure thing.
narrow that down so that it's easy
Yes.
for anyone to understand.
Yes, sure
Okay.
thing. Okay.
Thank you. Mr. Garrett.
You got to make it easier now.
The mayor just did.
Okay. I think yours is, there it is.
Because that was a lot.
I know. There's a lot getting to that, too. Okay. Sure. And there you go.
Thank you. And she already went through one slide. Good evening, Mayor, Council, Acting City Manager, and City Attorney Steve Garrett with Lucido Associates representing the applicant. I will be very brief. I do appreciate Ms. Keene's thoroughness. Again, it's an important element to cover the history and why we're here and why we're doing what we are. But Madam Mayor, you simplified it probably better than I can. Graphically, we are simply relocating the current 18 acres of commercial and the 12 acres of ROI from the eastern parcel to the western parcel. That is essentially it. All the current entitlements of residential units at 875 and the uses and so forth remain the same. It has been a thorough process, and we're grateful for staff's participation in, and again, no increase in intensity or density. We're simply moving those. But on a traffic standpoint, and Ms. Keene highlighted it a bit, but just in case it was missed, the current Founders Crossing has road obligations of McCarty running from Midway South to Newell and Newell Road or East-West 2 on the roadway map. Those are the current obligations. Because they also have an interest in the adjacent Wilder community, our client has changed the primary focus of access and marketing of Founders Crossing and the residential component to be more of an extension of the adjacent Wilder project. And so Wilder, as you know, has the obligation to dedicate and convey the right-of-way shown in red, which is from Wilder Parkway west to the southeastern corner of Founders Crossing, where the blue starts. They are going to be constructing the first 2 lanes of that roadway, and that will be our primary access and first access into Founders Crossing. Future access, as the eastern parcel develops from south to north, will come from McCarty Road, and we'll have the 2 access points and meet the access policy of City of Port St. Lucie. Fairly brief and succinct. Relative to the school, we are currently, Ms. Keene's correct, we've had our first and initial conversation with Nicole Fogarty in the school district. They are trying to determine if the school site is even needed per that commitment of the adjacent parcel. And we're hopeful to have that determination prior to the adoption hearing.
Okay.
Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Mr. Garrett? No? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
This item is a public hearing. Would anyone like to address the council? Seeing no one, we'll close the public. Can you come forward, please, to the podium? State your name again, please.
Jeffrey Edmond. I didn't get your full your information for the number you told me to call.
Sure, I know it's not relevant to this item, but it's
Right.
772-251-9140. That's 772-251-9140.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Okay. Would anyone else like to address the council in this public hearing? Seeing no one, I'll close the public hearing. Council?
Mayor, thank you for breaking that down, because the first time when I read this, I was confused. I had to go back and reread it. I was like, oh, well, they're just shifting from one place to the next. So with that said, I'd like to make a motion to approve ordinance 26-53.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any final discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to 10C, ordinance 26-58.
An ordinance of the City of Port St. Lucie, Florida, authorizing the conveyance of real property described as Lot 12, Block 2200, Port St. Lucie, Section 33, as recorded in Plat Book 15, pages 1A through 1V of the Public Records of St. Lucie County, Florida, to Holiday Builders Incorporated, excuse me, in exchange for Holiday Builders Incorporated conveying real property described as open space tract Holiday Bougainvillea Plat, as recorded in Plat Book 140, page 14 of the Public Records of St. Lucie County, Florida, to the city, providing for conflict, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
Thank you. This item is a public hearing. Would anyone like to address the council? Seeing no one, I'll close the public hearing. Council?
Motion to approve ordinance 26-58.
A second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. 10D, ordinance 26-59.
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Port St. Lucie, Florida, providing for the placement of a non-binding straw ballot question on the November 3rd, 2026 general election ballot, asking whether the electors support amending the city's solid waste franchise agreement to increase residential curbside pickup to twice per week at an increased cost per household. providing for the text of the proposed straw ballot question, directing the city clerk to provide the supervisor of elections with a copy of this ordinance, providing for conflict, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
Thank you.
Good evening,
evening.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, council members, Chief Assistant City Manager, City Attorney, and members of the public. I'm Mariana Felposh, Director of the Office of Solid Waste, here today with a brief presentation on the ballot language developed in close collaboration with the City Manager's Office, City Attorney's Office, Communications, and with the support of the City Clerk's Office. To collect trash once or twice a week? That is the question. This topic remains an active point of discussion in our community. It is the reason City Council directed staff last year to place the question to the public on this November's general election ballot. Just last week at the special City Council meeting, we again heard public comments supporting both the current once-a-week collection and an increase to twice-a-week collection. A straw poll question is non-binding. Its purpose is simply to gauge public approval. We are currently aligned with the required timeline for the ballot language preparation, tonight being the first reading of the ordinance and the second reading scheduled for the July 13th City Council meeting to formally approve the language for the placement on the ballot. The straw language before you, reviewed and approved by legal, is designed solely to gauge community sentiment and is non-binding. After the election, staff will provide the certified results to the council, at which point council will determine the appropriate course of action. If voters ultimately support increasing trash collection to twice per week, implementing is estimated to take 9 to 15 months. Some impacts worth noting are routes and schedules would be adjusted to add Saturday service in support of twice-a-week collection. Residential collection start time would shift from 7 a.m. to 6 a.m. to align with Saturday landfill operating hours, as that would be a service day. That concludes our presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Can you go back a slide? I just want to make sure we're being really clear. First of all, I know we keep mentioning straw ballot, non-binding, Mr. City Attorney, and that's because that's statute, correct?
Correct, that's what the law provides, is that
Okay.
we're not allowed to make it binding legally.
Okay. So I just want to make sure that is clear. However, I can speak for me that if the residents tell us and vote to pass this, then I'm going to do what the residents want to do if they've voted in. And my position will be, we will move to that. But I also want to state, there's going to be questions. We didn't go over it clearly enough with regard to implementation. So I just want to make sure we're being really transparent. For anyone saying, oh, well, why would it take 9 to 15 months after a vote in order to get it done? Because people would think naturally that if it's voted in, right, that it's going to get implemented. And we briefly talked about changes to service, right? But we didn't talk about the fact that our current provider would have to add additional 17 trucks and drivers, so they'd have to hire people and get the equipment in. And then you have here additional 5 indirect employees. They'd have to get additional property in order to house those vehicles, correct?
Yes, currently their yard.
Okay. And it would go to Monday to Saturday collection. They'd have to get some other trucks as well. Just want to make sure that's clear, that everyone understands that if it were to pass, it is going to take time to implement the new program for all of those reasons that we just mentioned.
Absolutely. As well as rerouting the entire city.
Right.
As we would have 3 service areas instead of currently having 5.
Okay. I just want to make sure everyone's aware of that. And like I said, we're being open and transparent about it. Did you have anything?
So I did want to ask, since this is on the general election ballot that's going to occur anyway, I mean, is there any additional cost to the taxpayer to add this question?
No, there is no cost unless there is a 3rd page needed. but that cost would be shared by anybody that has any questions on the ballot, referendums or straw polls. And the supervisor of election did let us know that that has not happened to date.
Okay.
Councilwoman Pickett, did you have anything?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. One additional caveat for the service time is the lead time on the trucks. It takes 9 to 12 months to get one of those garbage trucks. It's not like they just have them randomly sitting. They are built per the customer's order. So we're looking at, if this does pass, we're looking at 9 to 12 months before they can even get the trucks here, correct?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, Ms.
Madam
Pomar-Sala.
Mayor, just for clarification, Mariana, could you clarify, would a resident have a change in their pickup days, or would they just add to their current pickup days? Because it'll be twice a week.
Well, currently we have 5 service areas, so we're servicing each area Monday through Friday. So in a twice a week service, we would have Monday, Thursday, Tuesday, Friday, and Wednesday, Saturday service areas. So we would go to 3 from 5. So yes, the entire city would be rerouted. We would try to keep some of the service days, but definitely you would have a change because you would have an additional service day. And we would have Saturday service, which we currently do not have. As well as holidays, there would be no makeup. It would just be your following service day.
Right. Okay. Any other questions? No? All right. Is there a motion?
Motion approved.
Well, actually, first I have to ask for a public hearing. So let's do that first. Would anyone like to speak on this item? Seeing no one, I'll close the public hearing.
Motion to approve ordinance 26-59.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any final discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to 10E, ordinance 26-60.
An ordinance of the City of Port St. Lucie, Florida, authorizing the lease of real property located at 198 Northwest Marion Avenue, Port St. Lucie, Florida, to the Agricultural and Labor Program Incorporated, a Florida non-for-profit corporation, authorizing the mayor, the city manager, or their designees to execute the lease agreement, providing for conflict, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
Thank you. This item is a public hearing. Would anyone like to address the council? Seeing no one, will close the public hearing. Council?
Motion to approve.
Second.
A motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. 10F, ordinance 26-61.
An ordinance of the City of Port St. Lucie, Florida, authorizing the lease of real property located at 198 Northwest Marion Avenue, Port St. Lucie, Florida, to the Boys and Girls Club of St. Lucie County, Florida, a not-for-profit corporation, authorizing the mayor, the city manager, or their designees to execute the lease agreement, providing for conflict, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
Thank you. This item is a public hearing. Would anyone like to address the council? Come forward, please.
I'd just like to say that I think you guys are doing a great job here. There are just some slight nuances between the generations. You know, we're in a really trying time right now, I feel, alongside other nations and dealing with like generational gaps. Technology's moving forward extremely fast. And I think a lot of those river issues that we're dealing with is because of AI technology moving in down here. I think I saw something about that. And I think, you know, I just want to, you know, hopefully we can reconvene on a lot of these issues and you know, hopefully we can, you know, use our educational platforms to move forward and ensure that, you know, we can maybe slow down and address these issues as some other people have been trying to say for a long time. So again, I just want to say thank you guys so much, and you guys have a great day.
Thank you so much. Would anyone else like to address the council? Seeing no one, will close the public hearing. Council?
Motion to approve ordinance 26-61.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. 10G, ordinance 26-62.
An ordinance authorizing the issuance of not to exceed $85 million in aggregate principal amount of Port St. Lucie, Florida special obligation revenue bonds, Series 2026A, to finance various costs related to the Southeast Floresta Drive roadway improvements, the Public Works Building Project, and the Parr Roundabouts Project, providing for a covenant to budget and appropriate legally available non-ad valorem revenues to pay the principal of redemption premium, if any, and interest on the bonds, providing for certain rights of the holders of such bonds, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
Thank you. Good evening, Ms. Russell.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, staff, and citizens. For the record, my name is Karen Russell. I'm the Assistant Finance Director. We're doing an ordinance for not to exceed $85 million to include 3 projects: Public Works Building, Floresta Drive, and Parr Drive, funded by non-ad valorem. If you have any questions, we do have our financial advisor and our bond counsel on line.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions? No?
No.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
This item is a public hearing. Would anyone like to address the council? Seeing no one, I'll close the public hearing. Council?
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. 10H, ordinance 26-63.
An ordinance to approve a conceptual plan for approximately 1.41 acres of property located at the southwest intersection of Southwest Port St. Lucie Boulevard and Southwest Sultan Drive within the limited mixed-use zoning district for a project known as Riverview Plaza, providing for conflict, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
Thank you, council. Are there any ex parte communications to disclose? I don't remember anything in this either. Okay.
Good evening, Bridget Keene again. I have been sworn in, and this item was sent to the city clerks within 5 days, so I would appreciate if you could enter it into the record. I'm here for Marissa, and this application is for Riverview Plaza, and it's an amendment to the LMD concept plan for the project. Jose Chavez of Storybook Development Services, LLC, is the applicant agent, and the property owner is Russell, LLC, and it's located at the southwest corner of Southwest Sultan Drive and Southwest Port St. Lucie Boulevard, and it is north of the C-24 Canal. And the application is to approve a conceptual plan for the 1.41 acre property. It does have limited mixed-use zoning, and the concept plan is required per section 158-155. So in 2006, this property was rezoned and a conceptual plan for the property was approved, and it included a commercial building and a single-family house. In 2007, a site plan was approved that has now expired, and now the applicant is requesting approval of a revised LMD concept plan, and that's to allow for a 10,400 square foot commercial structure, and they're removing the single-family house. Okay, the surrounding uses to the north is a church daycare. It has CL, future land use, and institutional and commercial neighborhood zoning. To the south is the C-24 Canal, and then on the other side of the canal is single-family residential houses as well as a daycare. That is zoned, that has a land use of RL, ROI, and the zonings are institutional as well as RS2. To the east, the property is vacant. It has an ROI land use, and then it has the zoning is professional as well as RS2. And then the west is residential with RL land use and RS2 zoning. And this is the subject property over here. And as I mentioned, this is just the image of the property. It has the LMD zoning. And so the proposed rezoning is consistent with policy 11413 of the future land use element, which establishes the compatible future land use and zoning categories. And the limited mixed-use zoning district is listed as a compatible zoning district under the ROI future land use classification. This is their proposed concept plan. and their proposed landscape plan. And this is the proposed elevations. And the existing zoning is consistent as well with policy 11413 of the future land use element, which again establishes the compatible future land use and zoning categories. So this application basically reconfigures the subject property's conceptual plan, and it is consistent with the LMD zoning. And the only issue is it will have to come back for a special exception use because they are proposing to have over 50% commercial and over 5,000 square feet for a retail building or for any one use, which is our certain requirements in the LMD zoning. It doesn't allow you to go over 50% commercial or for any one use to exceed 5,000 square feet. That will come before you on the same agenda as the second reading of this rezoning, that SEU application. The Site Plan Committee recommended approval of the proposed conceptual plan in March of 2026, and the Planning and Zoning Board recommended approval of the reconfiguration of the conceptual plan at the June 2nd, 2026 Planning and Zoning Board meeting, and staff is happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions for Ms. Keen?
Okay.
Does the applicant have a presentation? Good evening.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and fellow members of the council. I didn't catch the swearing in, so if you need me to swear in, yes?
Yes, please.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do. So yes, my name is Jose Chavez with Storybook Development Services. We're very excited to bring a new project to the city. It's pretty consistent with the other projects that have been successfully completed so far with Gatlin Point, Harbor Village, and Greco Park. This is the same developer, which will be bringing the same level of excellence as we've done in the other projects. I'm here to answer any questions, and I look forward to your feedback.
Okay. Any questions? No? We're okay. This item is a public hearing. Would anyone like to address the council? Seeing no one, I'll close the public hearing. Council?
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. 10I, ordinance 26-64.
An ordinance of the City of Port St. Lucie amending the Tradition Master Sign Program, providing for conflict, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
Thanks. Any ex parte communications? I don't remember any conversation
think
with
so.
this. Okay. Okay. Go ahead, Ms. Keen.
Okay. Good evening again, Bridget Keene with the Planning and Zoning Department, and I have been sworn in, and the file was sent to the clerk's office within 5 days, and I am requesting that it be entered into the record. This is the 8th Amendment to the Tradition Master Sign Program, and I do just want to take a second to thank Lucido and Associates because they have been working as a courtesy with the city on this amendment to the Master Sign Program because most of the changes that are in here actually pertain to the city's jobs corridor. So they helped us come up with specific signage for the jobs corridor because the signage in the Tradition Master Sign Program, it really didn't address, the warehouse, the larger buildings, and the future Costco, so we do appreciate their assistance. And as well as Mattamy Palm Beach LLC, because they are the owners, and Steve Garrett with Lucido and Associates is the applicant. And as you are aware, the Tradition Master Sign Program applies to all the property that's in Tradition, Western Grove, and Southern Grove. So basically, west of I-95, the area is east of Range Line, and then south of Crosstown Parkway, and then north of the C-23 Canal. And as I mentioned, this is the 8th Amendment. Surrounding uses, for Master Sign Program, the surrounding uses are going to be the Ferrano development to the north, the Riverland Kennedy, or the Riverland now DRI to the west, and then Martin County to the south, and then I-95 on the east. So the Tradition Master Sign Program, as I mentioned, it provides the signage regulations for all of the development within Tradition, Southern Grove, and Western Grove. And the primary focus of this amendment is to add a definition for jobs corridor and economic development district and a table that's specifying the locations, the number of signs and signs area allowed in that district. And as you know, the Jobs Corridor is the area on the east side of Southwest Village Parkway, pretty much kind of south of Village Parkway, all the way to Becker Road, or even south of Becker Road to the C-23. And other proposed changes include adding requirements for approval of signs within public and private rights-of-way, and increasing the number of non-residential information directional signs from 4 to 24, and other minor changes. And the Planning and Zoning Board did recommend approval at their June 2nd, 2026 meeting, and Mr. Garrett is here, and he can probably explain a little better the changes that were added for the Jobs Corridor. Okay, and happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? No, we're good.
Okay, and let me just find. Steve, you have a presentation, right? I do. Yeah, can you find it? Because you probably better. Applicant's presentation. Here we go.
There we go. Thank you.
Yeah, welcome. And I'll let you set it up.
Oh, that's the MPD. Whoops.
What you get when you have.
I'm not representing.
I know it's in here. So.
Right there. No, that's yours.
That's, yeah. I'm sorry, I thought it was in here.
Yeah, it was uploaded.
It was.
We can have that.
Oh, you weigh it down on the bottom. There we go. Okay.
Good evening again, Mayor, Council,
Evening.
Assistant Acting City Manager, and City Attorney Steve Garrett with Lucido & Associates. I hate to do this, but I did not stand because I forgot this was quasi-judicial. So in an abundance of caution, if I could be sworn in, I apologize.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do. Thank you. Sorry about that. Thank you, Ms. Keene. Appreciate this. As Ms. Keene said, this amendment is really addressing two significant items. One, the needs for the Jobs Corridor and the Economic Development District signage, as well as clarifying the way allowable sign area is calculated, which has been an issue that the TDRC and the city have grappled with in the past. Briefly, we created a new table in the Master Sign Program that is specifically for the Jobs Corridor and the Economic Development District. Again, originally when this Master Sign Program was developed, we did not have the Jobs Corridor and that 1,200 acres, and it's a distinct set of uses that require additional consideration and signage. And so we are addressing the need for additional monument signage because most of those larger facilities have multiple access points. And also on facade signage, the previous commercial signage didn't really account for and was more restrictive for buildings that were over 100,000 square feet. As you know, most of those facilities in the Jobs Corridor are 150, 200, 300,000 square feet. So they're significant buildings. So we had worked with staff as well as reviewing current applications and projects that have been improved, like Dragonfly and other uses in the Jobs Corridor to do that. I want to highlight two items from Planning and Zoning Board to tonight. First, the primary monument sign. There was an error on our presentation to that board, and we made that change to 9.5 feet in height, as well as the one below it we didn't address, but that was a larger height than the primary, and it's a secondary sign. So we made sure both of those were 9.5 feet. That is consistent in the same maximum height that's currently in the Master Sign Program for all commercial properties. So it's just a consistency element and a little housekeeping. And then lastly, the second item for allowable sign area and how it's calculated, this as an example, this is the new exhibit. So currently, the way sign area would be calculated per the current definition is we would have to draw a red box around the entire limits, and that current definition would, as you see, count for decorative elements of the sign, airspace that is not even part of the sign itself. What we did was work with staff to tweak the definition to allow for a little bit more creative element. You can define it up to a max of 2 geometric shapes, the blue and the yellow in this example, and it allows just a little bit more creativity in signage as well as font and the elements applied to it. Amore is a good example of this. The Amore signage on that building, they're very scripted A, and if you were to take the literal calculation of that sign, they would not be able to get that size signage. It would be a lot of airspace calculated. So this allows for a little bit more creative expression, but still within the aesthetic parameters of tradition. And with that, be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? No? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
This item is a public hearing. Would anyone like to address the council? Seeing no one, we'll close the public hearing. Council?
Motion to approve ordinance 26-64.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. 10J, ordinance 26-65.
An ordinance of the City of Port St. Lucie, Florida, authorizing the conveyance of real property lying in Section 6, Township 36 South, Range 40 East, to the Florida Department of Transportation for the construction of an interchange ramp at Midway Road and the Turnpike, and pursuant to the memorandum of agreement between the Florida Department of Transportation and the City of Port St. Lucie, providing for conflict, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
Thank you. This item is a public hearing. Would anyone like to address the council? Seeing no one, we'll close the public hearing. Council?
Motion to approve ordinance 26-65.
Second.
A motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. 11A, Resolution 26-R41.
A resolution of the City Council of the City of Port St. Lucie, Florida, granting a special exception use to allow an enclosed assembly area over 3,000 square feet without an alcoholic beverage license for on-premise consumption of alcoholic beverages in the Service Commercial Zoning District per Section 158.126 D3 of the Port St. Lucie Code of Ordinances for a project known as St. Lucie West Diamond Elite Academy, LLC, providing for conflict, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
Council, are there any ex parte communications to disclose?
I have spoken with the applicant at one time.
Okay.
Yeah, I believe I've spoken with the applicant as well.
Don't remember speaking to the applicant, but, okay.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, City Council, City staff. I've been Betancourt with the Planning and Zoning Department. I have been sworn in, and the official file was submitted to the City Clerk's office 5 days prior to this hearing. Madam Clerk, will you please enter into the record? The item before you is a special exception use application for a project known as St. Lucie West Diamond Elite Academy, LLC. The request is a special exception use to allow 10,350 square feet of enclosed assembly recreational space without an alcoholic beverage license. The property is located east of Northwest Peacock Boulevard and south of Northwest University Boulevard. The applicant is Tiffany Romero, and the property owner is PSL Business Center Partnership. The applicant intends to operate as a baseball training facility, which will occupy an existing building on the developed site. The proposed facility exceeds 3,000 square feet of enclosed assembly area, which requires a special exception use approval in the Service Commercial Zoning District. This is an aerial view of the property with the surrounding uses consisting of a recreational field to the east, baseball stadium to the north, self-storage facility to the west, and commercial business center to the south. The property is zoned service commercial and is compatible with the land use and zoning designations surrounding the site. This is the approved site plan depicting the space to be occupied by the proposed use. And this is the proposed floor plan showing the location of the enclosed assembly space. So with this being a special exception use, we evaluated against criteria as outlined in section 1582.260 of the City Code. No changes to the site access are proposed. The proposed use will utilize the site's two existing access points. The proposed use requires 52 parking spaces, and the overall site provides 509, which is adequate, which is sufficient to accommodate the proposed use. There are adequate utilities on site that are serviced by the St. Lucie West Services District. No additional screening or buffering are required. The approved landscape plan provides adequate landscaping. All signage and lighting shall conform to the city code, and the facility is in an area designated for commercial development, which will not negatively impact surrounding properties. So the Planning and Zoning Board recommended approval at their June 2nd, 2026 meeting,
And that concludes my presentation. I'm here to answer any questions. The applicant is also here, and they have a presentation as well.
Any questions? No? Okay. Does the applicant wish to make a presentation? Good evening.
It's here. Okay. I'm short.
It's okay. Take your time.
Good evening, Madam Mayor. Good evening, Councilman Pickett, and good evening, Councilman Bana, and everyone else this evening. Oh, hold on. I have to find mine. Yes. Oh, they're doing it for me.
No, it's up here.
Perfect. Okay, I'm Tiffany Romero. I'm the owner of Diamond Elite Academy. Diamond Elite Academy Sports Performance Gym is designed specifically for the development, health, and safety of student athletes. Unlike a traditional commercial gym, this facility will operate as a structured and supervised athletic training environment focused on improving strength, agility, mobility, injury prevention, conditioning, and overall wellness for middle and high school students. Diamond Elite Academy's indoor batting cages are designed to provide a safe, structured, and climate-controlled athletic training environment for baseball and softball student athletes. The batting cage area will be utilized for skill development, athletic instruction, team training, and supervised recreational athletic activity. During school hours, the batting cages will primarily be used by enrolled student athletes as part of the Academy's sports performance and athletic development program. Activities may include baseball and softball hitting instruction, pitching and catching development, strength and conditioning integration, team practices and drills, sports performance training, skill development, and supervised athletic recreation. The indoor nature of the facility allows students to train year-round in a controlled environment while minimizing outdoor noise and weather-related interruptions. After school hours, approximately between 5 p.m. and 8 p.m., portions of the batting cage facility may be made available for structured rentals and supervised use by local travel teams, local travel baseball and softball teams, parent and student athletes, small group athletic instruction, team practices, and lessons. These after-hour activities are intended to provide additional safe indoor recreation opportunities for the local community while supporting youth athletes within Port St. Lucie. Our Legends Cafe is a healthy cafe and student commons which provides students with access to nutritious catered lunches, protein smoothies, healthy beverages, and snack options throughout the day. No cooking occurs on site. The space serves as a comfortable environment where students can relax, socialize, study, and recharge between academic and athletic activities. Food and beverage options will also be available during supervised after-hours training and facility rental periods. The Performance and Innovation Commons is designed as a supervised educational, recreational, and wellness-focused environment that supports student development through athletics, health, nutrition, leadership, technology, and community engagement. The facility provides year-round indoor recreational opportunities while promoting safe, structured activities for both enrolled students and the greater Port St. Lucie community. Strength and conditioning instruction, baseball and softball skill development, sports performance training, recovery and mobility sessions, nutrition and wellness education, leadership development workshops, guest speaker presentations, team meetings and collaboration, academic study and group project work, technology-based athlete performance analysis. The Diamond Elite Academy lobby is designed as a welcoming, professionally managed reception area that balances hospitality with student safety. The space incorporates controlled access points, visitor management procedures, and security monitoring systems while providing a comfortable environment for students, families, staff, and visitors. The lobby serves as the primary access and supervision point for the facility, ensuring secure and organized movement throughout the academy. And this is my presentation.
Great. Thank you so much.
Any questions?
Any questions? Oh,
And while I would like to have worn Diamond Elite stuff, my son is actually representing Southwest Little League right now versus Vero Beach in Fort Pierce at a game at his first first All-Stars game, yeah.
Awesome.
So.
Well, good luck to him.
Thank you.
I think this is a great addition to the city. This is really, really cool concept, so I think it's really great.
Thank you.
I have to open it up to the public hearing. Would anyone like to address the council? Please come forward.
So I don't have a specific presentation prepped. My phone died, and I'm on limited resources right now. I kind of want to lead in with questions that you guys might have instead, just for the occurrences that we've seen. I've been doing a lot of research, and I know it's necessary that you guys are made aware. I'm not sure if you guys have heard of the stem cell research that's been going on in like latent science nowadays, but it all seems to be of a biblical nature, where in which we have your epigenomic sequences are something a bit smaller than your actual genome. Here, it seems it's because so your epigenome has basically information in them inside what's called a telomere, and those telomeres are induced to fraying via the environment. And it would seem that amid that, and this is all on the cellular level, by the way, molecularly, and those telomeres are induced to fraying via the environment. And that's like information loss, maybe like a death of some sort, and the memory of that person, what they embodied, and what human nature tends to do with death in and of itself. I'm not sure if you guys are believers yourself, but you know that's a major, that can, with the way we react and then the way things play out, that could be a major or a very minor gap. I've been doing a lot of research just to kind of close that gap. Here, I don't know if you guys, that's why I wish I had like the actual presentation. We have in this picture here, it's a picture of two mice, and the mice are actually, one looks older, the other one looks younger, but they're actually the same age. And what they've actually been able to do through a gene therapy is first they made the mice older. They applied the gene therapy to areas with mice, and then they started applying it to particular spaces where they feel like it would be more potent, just for medical science and such and so forth. And they started doing the eyeball, and amid that, it seems that first you have to stay in a harder condition for it to kind of introduce itself. And again, all of it kind of aligns biblically, because it references things like fasting, eating less meat, very hot conditions, very cold conditions as well. But I mean, in my research, it seems like culturally harsh conditions as well may induce this effect, because I've been getting a lot of like idiosyncrasies that align with that, just internet-wise and stuff like that. But I can't go too much into detail in that without further research. But what they actually found was that
Can you please conclude your comments?
I'm sorry?
Can you please conclude your comments, because the time is up.
Okay, I'm sorry. But that's what essentially allowed all, that's basically what we have, and that's what essentially allowed for that victory to come into the hands of my company, and to all of us. And I just kind of wanted to make the public aware and let you guys know what's going on the forefront of science. There's a bit more, but I think I'll save that for later.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Okay. Would anyone else like to address the council? Seeing no one, I'll close the public hearing. Council?
Motion to approve resolution 26-R41.
A second.
A motion and a second. Any final discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, 11B was tabled. We're on to city manager's report, because we have no new business tonight.
Madam Mayor, the only thing I wanted to share is that the Utility Systems Department will temporarily modify its water disinfection process between July 6th and July 17th. The city performs this process annually to ensure water quality and maintain compliance with the federal and state regulatory agency requirements. If the public is interested in learning more, they can visit cityofpsl.com/water. That's it.
Thank you. Councilman Pickett?
Thank you, Mayor. 17th of June, I attended the Special Deputies Lunch at the Gary Morales Training Center. That's the first time I've ever been out there, and it's a pretty nice place. Yesterday, I went golfing for Father's Day with my son. Something that we don't get to do nearly enough. Spend enough time with my kids now that they finally moved out of the house. So
Lastly, my announcement is we want to remind the residents that there will be no changes to the solid waste collection schedule during the 4th of July holiday. July 4th lands on a Saturday, and Saturdays are not part of the regular collection schedule. This year, only Thanksgiving Day and Christmas Day affect the schedule. And to learn more, visit the city's website. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Bonner?
Thank you, Mayor, and, happy belated Father's Day to all the dads in the community. Definitely enjoyed some time with the kids as well. My announcement, summer's arrived, and so has the Boys and Girls Clubs of St. Lucie County's Mobile Club. The Mobile Club will roll into 6 city parks through the end of July and will offer a variety of fun activities for kids of all ages. The program is funded by our Community Development Block Grant Program and allows the club to reach young people who might not be exposed to traditional facilities. Visit cityofpsl.com to find out where the Mobile Club will be next. I'll also do vice mayors. The city is moving forward with improvements to Village Green Drive. The project team is at the 60% design stage, with the final design expected to be completed by the end of the year. Updated plans include wider shaded sidewalks, protected bike lanes, improved crosswalks, a nearby transit stop, and redesigned access at Camino de Entrada. For more information about this project, visit pslinprogress.com. And I'll take the liberty to be the bookend too and do Councilman Morgan.
Great.
Registration for the next session of City University opens July 13th. City University is a free program that gives Port St. Lucie residents an inside look at city operations, such as how each department functions, our budget planning process, and more. The first class is in late August, and the program runs for 9 weeks. Visit cityofpsl.com/CityU, that's the letter U, to learn more.
Okay, thank you. So I attended Fire Board. I was a panelist for the Best Places to Work event, Florida Coast Medical Center board meeting, and I just want to give a special shout out to our special events team. I attended the Juneteenth 5K last week, and then this past Friday, the city's Juneteenth event, and Salome and Nan and the entire team did an amazing job at this year's event. It was even better than last year, so thank you, thank you, thank you to the entire team. And my announcement is the police department's new drone as a first responder program is off to an incredible start. On June 10th, the first day of testing and evaluation, it demonstrated its life-saving potential by successfully helping officers locate a missing autistic woman before she entered a nearby canal. The drone as a first responder program shows that the department's commitment to leveraging innovative technology to enhance public safety and better serve our residents. It is something that we're really proud of here in Port St. Lucie, and we're so proud of our police department as well. So thank you, Chief, for implementing that great program. And I think we can all agree that it is going to save a lot more lives. So thank you. And with that, we are adjourned.